Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to Super Breakfast Friends Club and Knuckles.
Yeah, the best add-on. Plug our podcast into your copy of Sonic and Knuckles for an enhanced experience.
Yeah, you can get Knuckles' commentary on what we're saying.
If only. He wouldn't stoop this low.
You don't think we could get him as a guest?
Knuckles? T. Echidna?
Yeah.
No.
Who plays Knuckles now? We'll get the guy who plays Knuckles to come on.
He has to be in character the whole time. No, we don't want to talk to you. We want to talk to Knuckles.
Yeah, what does Knuckles think?
You guys know I'm not actually Knuckles, right? Put him on the phone!
Get out of here, fraud. So why are we Knucklesing it this week, you may ask?
Knuckles' birthday!
It's Knuckles' birthday. He's 30.
That's disgusting.
In universe, I'm pretty sure he's 16, but in real life, he's 30. They got this 30-year-old playing a 16-year-old.
He still pulls it off.
What is this, Vampire Diaries?
Yes. I don't know about you, but I watched an episode of Vampire Diaries instead of Knuckles the Echidna.
No, you didn't.
No, I didn't.
I know you would never do that to Knuckles.
No, he's my boy.
Is he your favorite Sonic character?
I think he's my favorite Sonic character.
Yeah, you've mentioned it before.
I don't know when it happened, because ever since I was a kid, Tails was my favorite. But then one day I woke up and I'm like, I'm Knuckles now.
Knuckles is great.
He is great.
This is a bad representation of him.
It's terrible.
Play the theme song.
Triplets born, the throne awaits. A seer warns of a deadly fate. Give up your children, separate. Bide your time, lie in wait. Sonic Underground. Sonic Underground. They made a vow their mother will be found. The children grow, learn what's right. Leaders of the freedom fight. They seek their mother, she knows they do. Is it time if she only knew? Will the prophecy come true? Sonic Underground. Sonic Underground.
I long for my children, but I have to wait. To act too soon could seal their fate.
They made a vow their mother will be found. Sonic Underground.
We're back. They made a vow.
Their mother will be found.
So we're told.
You know, the theme song is my favorite part of this show. And that sounds like a scathing indictment of the show, and it is. But I actually unironically like this theme song. I think it's really good.
It's catchy.
It's got some power to it.
It does. It is surprisingly powerful for this stupid show.
Yeah, especially when you set it alongside this show's other songs.
Friend or foe? That's a banger.
No, it's things aren't always what they seem.
Whatever.
Friend or foe's the name of the episode.
It had the same. The words were in the lyrics.
So you may wonder why, for Knuckles' anniversary, we have decided to watch Sonic Underground. I was really hoping that the Knuckles Paramount show would be out in time for this, but it's not.
That sounds like a missed opportunity.
I know, I wanted us to be watching Paramount's live-action Knuckles the Echidna show right now, but it's not done yet. It hasn't been released. I think it was held up by the actors' strikes or something.
Boo!
So instead I had to think deep, and I was like, okay, what options do we have? Knuckles' first animated appearance was the Sonic OVA, but we've already covered that in its entirety.
Yeah.
And that leaves us with his first animated appearance outside of Japan, which was this.
Oh no! This is the world's introduction to Knuckles?
Yeah, outside of Japan. In Japan, they'd already had the Sonic OVA 2 years before this. But for the rest of us, this is what we got.
This grim homunculus.
So this episode is called Friend or Foe, and it's actually an extremely loose adaptation of Sonic 3. Extremely loose.
Yeah. I mean, Knuckles is there. There's a Chaos Emerald. I think that's where the similarities end.
Yeah. So this episode was written by Kevin Donahue, who apparently wrote all of the Sonic Says segments on Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog.
What a title to have.
Yeah. He also worked as a script assistant on a bunch of stuff, but didn't seem to have an actual writing credit. But he worked as a script assistant on the Saturday Morning Sonic show as well as Street Sharks, Double Dragon, and Battletoads.
Double Dragon. I've had enough Double Dragon for the rest of my life.
Why? We haven't even looked at it yet.
No, I just heard a lot of Double Dragon at MagFest.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll be looking at most of those shows I just mentioned, except Street Sharks.
Oh.
I used to watch Street Sharks.
I didn't. I remember my cousin was super into it, though.
It wasn't very good.
I don't think it was, no.
Most of those Ninja Turtles likes weren't very good. I did like Biker Mice from Mars, though.
Sharks with legs. I do love sharks with legs. That is one of my favorite things.
Anyway. This was the 16th episode of Sonic Underground.
16?
Yeah. Took 16 episodes for Knuckles to show up. And it first aired in French on February 28th, 1999. Almost exactly 5 years after Sonic 3 came out.
Why in French?
Well, because the show was mostly produced in France. It was written and the voice acting was done in Canada, I believe. And then the animation was done in France, and it came out in French first.
Okay.
We did talk about it last time.
That was a long time ago.
I know.
You're expecting me to retain information?
No. I'm just saying that for the benefit of people who might be watching these two episodes back to back and think that we spoke about it right after each other, when for us it's been probably more than a year at this point since we last watched Sonic Underground.
Has it been that long? I thought we've watched it within the last year.
I don't know. I can check. I've got the
means.
Yeah, let me have a look. I have the list open right now. We last watched Sonic Underground June 2022. So yeah, it's been more than a year.
Oh my
God. It's been like a year and a half.
Why does it haunt me like that then? Why does it feel like such a fresh wound?
But anyway, the English version of the episode aired on September 20th, 1999. So this will have been like a month before Sonic Adventure came out. And anybody who went straight from this to seeing Knuckles in Sonic Adventure will have been very shocked.
Because he's not the worst?
Yeah, he's great in Sonic. He's great in the games in general.
Yeah.
I love Knuckles.
He's the best.
So this episode opens with Queen Alina, as always, giving us some nonsense garbage narration that doesn't really mean anything.
Following their quest, my children continue to learn one lesson, that things are not always what they seem.
She's winding us up the way she winds up those kids. Like, maybe she'll make sense one day. Maybe they'll find her one day, but probably not.
Well, we already know that they won't.
That's right. Well, then she's never going to make sense either.
Immediately, we're already at the floating island where Sonic and his siblings are flying in a funny, dumpy ship, following rumors that their mom is apparently on the floating island. It's so funny to me hearing them, like, knowing how late this was. Sonic Adventure's already out in Japan by now.
Mm-hmm.
Hearing them refer to it as the floating island. Because that is what, when we first got Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles, that is what they were calling it in English. They were calling it the floating island.
Right, 100 years ago.
It wasn't until Sonic Adventure that we reverted to using the Japanese name, which is Angel Island. And now we all just know it as Angel Island. Everybody knows that's what it's called. But it's funny because even though they kept insisting it was called the floating island, the first stage of Sonic 3 was always called Angel Island Zone in every language.
Yes, it was.
For the longest time, I thought Angel Island was a secondary island within the floating island.
Within it?
Yeah, like maybe there was a river in the floating island that had Angel Island in it.
What if it's just an archipelago of floating islands?
That would be cool.
All held aloft by a Chaos Emerald and guarded by a mysterious stranger.
So Sonia says that the Oracle told them to go there or something. Or she says the Oracle warned them about it.
Because it's fraught with danger.
Yeah, so the Oracle is a character who is seen in the opening. He's the seer who warns of a deadly fate.
Mm-hmm.
But he's essentially responsible for the events of the entire series.
But we never see him?
No, we do see him, but we haven't yet. We're 16 episodes in and he hasn't appeared yet.
Okay, that's just as bad.
I think he makes his first actual appearance in episode 18, if I remember rightly. Although, if you're watching in the order that they aired in the US, then he does appear in the first episode.
Oh.
Because quite late in production, they made a 3-part beginnings arc.
Oh yeah, I do remember you talking about this.
Yeah, and when they aired it in the US, they aired that first, hoping it would make things make more sense, I guess. The problem is, because they made the beginnings arc quite late in production, they put in a lot of things that you're just kind of expected to know about, which haven't been introduced yet.
Right. So really there's no way to win with Sonic Underground is what I'm learning.
No, there's no correct order. We watched To Catch a Queen first because that was the first one they made, and I feel like although it doesn't give you the backstory of the show, it introduces you to the characters better than the episodes that do give you that backstory.
Right.
It does more to tell you who Sonic, Sonia, and Manic are because the actual beginnings arc assumes you know already.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, yeah, they've been told...
The floating island is fraught with danger. Beware the Echidna.
Beware the Echidna. Like a sign outside of a fence.
Yeah, I love how they do nothing really to explain what an Echidna is. And most kids aren't going to know. Like, if you didn't grow up with Sonic, you probably don't know what an Echidna is, unless you're Australian.
I do like the part where they kind of lampshade that, where Sleet and Dingo are talking, and Dingo asks, what's an Echidna? And he says, not what, who? It's like, no, what is an Echidna?
Yeah. Speaking of Sleet and Dingo...
Here they are!
This opening scene with them, where Robotnik is trying to call them on the phone...
was a galactic waste of my time.
Yeah, right? He's calling them on the phone. We can hear him, like, calling out for them to answer the phone. Sleet's just sitting there staring at a river, bored, and Dingo is too dumb to understand what's happening.
Sleet, do you hear me? Answer me or your butt bent!
Huh? Boy, I must be hungrier than I thought. My stomach is really growling.
They're idiots.
Yeah.
They're not answering the phone because they're too stupid, but the way in which they're too stupid isn't entertaining at all. It's just frustrating.
Yeah. And it's like 2 minutes of them back and forthing in a not funny way.
Yeah, and then just like waiting while Sleet roots through the backpack in silence. And I'm like, this isn't funny.
This isn't good to watch. It's just burning time.
Yeah, just answer the phone. So we learn that Robotnik is the one who spread the rumors about Alina being seen on the floating island.
There's so much in this episode, probably show in its entirety, but in this episode in particular, where it's like, it would have been better served if we had seen some of these things happening.
Yeah.
Like the Oracle or Robotnik spreading this rumor.
There's definitely a lot of tell don't show going on here.
Yeah. But then we wouldn't have had all of those fight scenes that continued to waste our time.
That were really good.
That were just Sonic standing still and Knuckles walking right by him. We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah, so the plan is that Robotnik is going to trick the Echidna to take out the royal triplets. while Sleet and Dingo steal the Chaos Emerald that we're just now learning is here. This is another thing where it's weird because, yeah, when Sonic 3 was released, the English manual and stuff did say the island is powered by the Chaos Emeralds and Knuckles is the guardian of the Chaos Emeralds. When Sonic and Knuckles came out later that same year, that was kind of retconned to be the Master Emerald instead.
Mm-hmm.
So this show, it's almost like it's working from Sonic 3 without the knowledge of Sonic and Knuckles. But it came out 5 years after Sonic and Knuckles.
Why should that matter?
I have no proof of this at all, but what I wonder, since some of the same writers are involved, I wonder if this is an idea that was supposed to be in the 3rd season of that Saturday morning cartoon and never made it in because the show got cancelled.
I believe it.
Because that would have been about the right time period for that to have happened. But like here, 5 years after Sonic and Knuckles, there's no reason for them to not know about the Master Emerald.
Right.
Also, when Sleet is giving us the exposition that without the Chaos Emerald, the island will fall to the ground, the camera just falls to the ground for some reason.
Just to let us know.
There's a few things like that in this episode where there's just like unnecessary camera movement. This episode in general, like I wonder if it feels like it was put together by someone who was like maybe having their first day.
There's definitely a part in the song where like every time there's a drum beat, it flashes to a drum, and I felt like I was having a seizure or something. Like my eyes couldn't process what was happening.
Yeah, I got notes about that. So yeah, we do get told that the Echidna is a person whose name is Knuckles. They even know his name already.
How do they know so much about him?
I don't know. This reclusive Echidna living on this floating island.
Right.
It's funny because in the games, it was a mythical, legendary place that nobody knew existed. But here, they're just like, oh yeah, it's there. People just don't go. Just the guy who lives there is a jerk.
He's digging all these holes and people twist their ankles in them.
And they immediately, Sleet and Dingo, get caught by Knuckles, who just starts cooking them.
I was really hoping that he was the one that was going to eat them.
He just ties them to a spit alive and starts roasting them over a fire.
It's for his random pet dinosaur, but I like to believe he was going to eat them.
I did really like the part where they ask if he's going to eat them, and he's just casually like, no. And then there's like a long, awkward pause afterwards.
You gonna eat us?
No.
Oh, phew, good.
Part of me was hoping that there was nothing he was going to feed it to. Just said no.
He was just going to cook them.
Roasting them alive.
It's like, I'm not a cannibal. I'm just going to kill you by cooking you. Yeah, Knuckles' voice. I could not get used to Knuckles' voice.
Mm-mm. It sounded too Sonic-y.
It sounded too young. Didn't he sound... To me, he sounded younger than Sonic.
Yeah.
And every other iteration of Knuckles has always sounded older than Sonic, so this was weird.
Yeah.
Knuckles is played by Brian Drummond, who went on to play Eggman in Sonic Prime recently.
Ooh.
He was also the voice of Sakura's dad in Card Captors.
Ooh.
He was Tiger in Monster Rancher. He was the original English voice of Vegeta in Dragon Ball. So, last week in Ace Attorney, we talked about how we had the guy who had been Nappa in the It's Over 9,000 meme.
Uh-huh.
So that guy, although he was the voice of that character, he isn't the guy who did the voice in the version of the scene that was a meme. He was the voice of Nappa in the later dubs.
Oh.
But this is the Vegeta from the meme, so he is the one who actually read the It's Over 9,000!
Where was that passion in this Knuckles performance?
I know! I can't believe it's the same person! Apparently he was also Ryuk in Death Note.
Oh.
So that's odd.
Yeah, it's odd that he can do all these like deeper, passionate voices, and then we get Knuckles.
Well, they must have asked him to do this.
Yeah, clearly.
That's what I'm assuming. They must have said, this is how we want you to do it, because he's not a bad actor. There's a lot of other... The voice he does for Tiger, actually, is more what I would expect out of Knuckles. Because Tiger was my favorite character in Monster Rancher back in the day. He's not anymore. When I was a kid, I liked Tiger the best.
Tiger's no longer my best friend.
Now I'm all about Swayzo.
Swayzo!
Anyway, yeah, so Knuckles has a pet dinosaur named Chomps. Everybody knows this.
Everybody knows this. This is the Knuckles fact.
I mean, or is it a dinosaur or is it just a big salamander?
Unclear.
There are several examples in this episode of somebody saying something sarcastically and then going, not, or I don't think so.
That's a product of the 90s.
And this is our first example of that here with Knuckles.
Of course. All my friends sneak onto my island. I don't think so.
Sleet tells Knuckles about the hedgehogs being on the island, and he says, search my pocket for proof. And then Knuckles searches Dingo's backpack.
Right. I was like, oh, I guess that's an excuse to get him tied down or untied. But no, it's just in a completely separate bag.
Yeah, it's just a case of like, there's a few parts in this where I feel like the writing doesn't quite match up with what they animated, and that's just an example of it. So Knuckles watches an AI deepfake.
An AI deepfake. You're not wrong, but I just hate that sentence happened.
Yeah, it's a recording in quotes of the hedgehog triplets making fun of Knuckles specifically, who they've never met,
right?
And saying that they want to steal his Chaos Emerald.
Gotta cruise, dudes. We gotta find that Chaos Emerald before that dopey Defender Knuckles gets us.
You are not often right, older brother. But on this occasion, I agree. Come, Manic.
We are more clever than that dumb Knuckles guy.
Also interesting here that Sonya specifically refers to Sonic as older brother in this. I don't remember if that's established or not. But, you know, it's an AI deepfake, so it might not be true anyway.
I don't know. I feel like she said older brother at some point in the actual episode.
Maybe. I feel like that would... It does kind of fit the sibling roles for Sonic to be the oldest and Manic to be the youngest.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would assume. You know, if I was trying to figure out the ages of them, I would assume that... I would definitely assume Manic was the younger one.
I would think that Sonya was the oldest.
Would you? She seems so middle childy to me.
But she's like the smart one, the smart, serious one.
Yeah, that's usually the middle child, like Lisa.
No, that's usually the firstborn.
Like Bart?
I'm talking about real life.
I don't know, it hasn't been my experience. Would you say I'm the serious smart one? I don't think so.
I don't know that your family has a really serious person, though. Of your siblings. But I don't know them as well as you do.
I'd say my sister's the more serious of the three of us.
But she's the youngest. No, Joe's the youngest.
Yeah, Joe's the youngest.
I don't know. I would say that my oldest brother is probably the more serious, because none of us are serious people.
Yeah, I mean, it's not always going to be. I'm just talking stereotypes here.
I just thought, like, when they do the birth order predictions, that the oldest is usually, like, the serious one, the not down to earth, but...
I guess that's what they did in DuckTales. Huey was the oldest, and he's the serious one, and the smart one. Yeah, I could see it going either way with Sonya and Sonic, honestly. I would think they would make Sonic the oldest one just because he's the main character.
Right, just because he's Sonic.
Yeah, the show's named after him. Why? I think I talked about this last time, but it bothers me so much that he's the only one with a superpower.
But they all have instruments with poorly defined powers that just do things they need them to.
They've all got instrument guns.
You know, I wasn't going to bring this up till later, but this episode really hammered home that Manic doesn't feel like he has a reason to exist.
He's the best one. What do you mean?
They didn't use him in this episode at all, really.
No,
he's
not
just
really.
Sonic twice.
Well, the problem is that Knuckles is here, so Manic doesn't have anything to do.
I guess.
There's only room for 3 characters in this show.
We can only write for 3 people tops.
I feel like that's always the way, though. Now that I've never really thought about it, but now that you mention it, there's always one of the 3 hedgehogs that's this episode's main one, and then the other 2 just watch what's happening to them. And the main hedgehog in this episode was Sonic.
Yeah. But, like, at least Sonia got to be smart about it.
Well, yeah, because the thing is, like, you've got the main one that's doing something, and then the other 2 kind of count as one character.
Yeah.
So while Sonic's off doing stuff, Manic and Sonia are lumped together as one unit, basically.
Yeah.
And I feel like when I'm thinking back on the episodes I can remember of this show, I feel like it's always like that. But there are episodes where Manic is the main one.
Okay.
So he gets to be the one that does stuff.
He gets to have a point.
Yeah. And when he does get to have a point, he's the best one, I think. He's got the most personality, and that's wild, considering one of them is Sonic the Hedgehog.
I was just about to say, it's wild that he's your favorite when one of them is Sonic the Hedgehog.
Well, because this isn't Sonic the Hedgehog.
No, he's annoying.
Yeah, he doesn't act like Sonic. In this episode, it feels like the main thing Sonic is here to do is to argue with Sonia, who's always right.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. So back to the scene. Chomps. Chomps eats the AI projector thing. So now he has the ability to shoot projections of hedgehogs from his nose.
I did kind of love that. It's so stupid.
It was, as soon as it happens the first time, it was really obvious to me what the point was.
Oh, for sure.
Of them doing that. I feel like they could have just had him eat it, and they didn't need to show us the projections right now. They could have waited until it was pertinent.
I wanted to see them now.
No, okay, that's fair. Did you notice that in this scene, as Chomps chases Sleet and Dingo away, Dingo is in his boxers?
No!
I don't know why he's in his boxers. Did Knuckles strip Dingo in particular?
Dingo in particular, I guess.
It's like, well, this guy looks perfectly normal, but this guy's huge. I gotta check how big his dick is.
Really gotta see this dingo's ding-dong.
This is where the hedgehogs find a sacred pool.
Yeah, what is it? Why does she know what it is? It's just a puddle of water that has a hologram in it.
Yeah, and adds nothing.
Right. It's just like, oh, our mother was here once, maybe.
There's a couple points in this episode where they use the sacred pools to show them something, but it's never anything that matters or that would hurt the episode not to see.
Right.
So, also, my favorite shot, this is another example of weird camera work. When the pool starts doing something, Sonia points at it, and the camera does a zoom in on her finger for some reason.
So we know what to follow.
But we don't need that. Like, she's pointing at something behind us, and we're zooming in on the finger.
Yeah. I want to see the finger.
My first thought was, you know how some dogs that aren't as bright as others, you'll try and point to something, and they'll just stare at your finger.
Yeah.
You know? You get the smarter dogs where you point and they're like, oh, he's gesturing over there. What's he pointing at? But some of them, they just stare at the finger.
Dogs are so good.
They're great. I love dogs. But yeah, they see an image of their mom in the pool, just running, just endlessly running. I mean, we assume it's her mom.
They tell us it's her mom.
Their face is entirely covered. They could just as easily be Knuckles.
I wish it were. I mean, it's his secret island. He can run around in drag if he wants.
Yeah, there's nothing stopping him. And speaking of stopping him, this is where the ground cracks open and he somersaults out of it.
Yeah.
And everyone falls to the ground. And then once they fall into the ground and everything has calmed down, that's when Manic asks what's happening and then immediately cuts himself off and compliments Knuckles' landing.
What's happening? Whoa, dude, you nailed that landing.
It's so weird.
Yeah, felt a little hodgepodge.
So much of this episode just feels like something went wrong at the animation stage.
Yeah. Like, this whole episode, I was distracted by how we know this is Knuckles. We can see that it's Knuckles, but it's just off-model enough that I hate it.
Oh, yeah, he does look really weird, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He doesn't even look like... So he's off-model for what Knuckles should look like, but he doesn't even look like he's off-model in a way that makes him match up with how Sonic looks.
Right! Like, I don't have a problem with Sonic looking a little different in this.
No, Sonic, he looks a little different than what we're used to, but not so far off that it's jarring. Whereas Knuckles, there's something really jarring about it.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. He's like a funny, like, dumpy... It does look like baby Knuckles.
Before he grew into his body.
Yeah. Like, he's like 3. He's just learning to walk.
He's just learning to spin his arms really fast.
yeah, that's his main thing.
It was so stupid.
The main thing he does is whirl his arms and gently jog towards Sonic in a straight line.
He doesn't use his fists to punch. He whirls them.
That's the first part. The very first thing Knuckles does is whirl his arms, slowly jog at Sonic. I don't know if it was even a jog. It's like a brisk walk towards Sonic. He gets close to him, and then Sonic, like, stumbles backwards because he's surprised by it, because it's a weird thing for someone to do. And then he bumps into a tree as he stumbles backwards, and then Manic is like,
boy, that guy's good.
And I'm like, is he?
The whole time I was so distracted because my immediate thought was that scene in The Simpsons where Bart starts whirling his arms and walking towards Lisa. And Lisa starts kicking and walking towards Bart.
That's exactly what all the fights in this episode are.
I was so distracted by it.
It's like Knuckles. First of all, Sonic does another one of those sarcastic things where he says something and then says, "Not."
Sonic, wait! Maybe we can reason with him.
Good idea, sis. Not.
Yep.
But like Knuckles, he like buries himself in the ground from the waist down and then just like sits there whirling his arms. And Sonic does a spin attack down there, but they both bounce off and fly across the room. Like, I didn't really understand what was happening.
No.
But then Sonya gets bored and just starts blasting.
Anyway, I started blasting.
Yeah. She like doesn't even look. She just turns her keyboard into a gun, holds it above her head and fires backwards.
Yeah, like, it looks like she knows what she's doing, but she literally fires it behind her, hits a tree branch on accident, and it lands near Knuckles and gives him a startle.
Yeah, that's the like when she hit the tree branch, I was like, oh, they're showing how cool she is and she's going to trap him under the tree branch. But she doesn't even. It just spooks him a little bit.
He's like, oh, that could have hit me.
And then he just catches all of them in pitfall traps.
When you go to that toxic Animal Crossing island where there's just pitfall traps everywhere.
But I didn't even understand, like, Sonic falls down his trap, he kind of stops himself. But then there's, like, a contraption at the bottom.
Yeah.
And he, like, closes the lid on it so he doesn't go in. And I don't know what it was supposed to be, because Sonya and Manic just land in a cave prison. There's no contraption in their pitfall.
He didn't have time to dig a whole cave prison, so he just put him in the contraption hole.
But what was that contraption?
I don't know. Maybe it's like a punji pit. It's not, but...
Meanwhile, Sleet's down in the caves turning his boyfriend into a boat.
I keep forgetting that's a thing that happens.
What, and then Dingo turns into stuff?
Yes, and then it happens and I can't... My brain just shuts off. What is this show?
Yeah, it's because it doesn't make any sense.
No!
Like, there's nothing about Dingo's design that conveys that he's a shapeshifter of some kind.
He's not a robot. He just looks like a mammal.
Yeah, maybe if he was some kind of like gelatinous robot, it would make more sense.
Yeah, a gelatinous cube or a robot. Then it would make sense for him to transform into things.
Yeah, but every time it happens, it does kind of come out of nowhere. If you've forgotten that that's his... I had forgotten that was his deal.
Mm-hmm.
Until they just did it out of nowhere here. Imagine if this was the first episode you'd seen. And that just happened.
I mean, in the first episode that we did see and that just happened, I still couldn't wrap my head around it.
I mean, yeah. Like, what are the rules? Is it the remote control that does it? Would it work on anybody? Or is this just a feature of Dingo? And why is it a feature of him?
I don't know. They wanted to have their cake and eat it too. They wanted a big, beefy furry, but they also needed somebody that could be a boat.
In the British comics, they had a shape-shifting character who was kind of mammalian in her, like, base appearance. But her name was literally Metamorphia, so it was explained right there in the name.
Yeah, I kind of thought that Dingo was like a dingo.
Yeah. They're rowing up a river to get to the emerald. I don't know why he chose to make him a rowboat.
Instead of a propeller boat.
Yeah, like a speedboat or a fan
jet
boat.
ski.
There's a lot of other choices they could have made.
Rather than having to manually paddle up there.
Yeah. Or even just like turning him into some kind of fish that could swim up there while Sleet rode on his back.
Yeah.
What better options than a rowboat, a manual rowboat? Knuckles shows up to fight Sonic again. This is the part where Knuckles just consistently jogs slowly at Sonic while whirling his fists, and Sonic just kind of casually sidesteps it each time because it's so slow.
You skipped the useless scene where we just see that Sonia and Manic are trapped and Sonia starts blasting again. And even though they appear to be trapped, she continues doing what she already did and it suddenly works now.
I thought that was after this.
It shows us she first starts blasting before and then after is when she escapes by the same means.
Okay. Yes, yeah, that does happen. Yeah.
I know.
I've got the note here. Sonia and Manic escape their jail cell with a sweet keyboard lick.
That should do it.
Because when she's blasting her keyboard, it's constantly making that like.
Yeah.
It's really annoying.
Her fingers are nowhere near the actual keys, but we sure hear some sweet keyboard.
Sonic and Knuckles are having the stupidest fight ever.
Oh my god. Sonic is like bragging about his speed as if he had moved, but Knuckles literally just missed.
Knuckles just runs in a straight line. That's all he can do.
It's so dumb.
Knuckles drops a bunch of pebbles on Sonic and it doesn't really affect him at all. He's just like, oh, ow, oh, pebbles.
This entire battle is a waste of time.
Yeah. And like Sonia and Manic down in the cave, this is another... I really hate Sonia. I don't like her.
Tell us how you really feel.
She's only here, really, to constantly argue with Sonic and to always be the one who's right. Mm-hmm. Which makes me not like Sonic as well. Because he's constantly arguing with her and he's always wrong.
Yep. He's pretty annoying.
Yeah, and that's why the only one I like here is Manic, because he's just chill. He's just watching this happen.
He's just trying to find his place in this world.
Like another example of like reasons I don't like Sonia is they're down here in this cave. Manic thinks that the green glow that the cave has is cool. But Sonia doesn't like it because she's a girl and she doesn't think it's flattering.
It doesn't compliment her skin tone.
Rip and glow.
Are you kidding? This light does nothing for my complexion.
Like, girl, you're not bringing the light with you to a gala. You're trapped in an underground prison.
Yeah.
It's pretty annoying.
But they find Chomps.
Yeah.
And he shows them his nostril laser show.
Nostril laser show. He immediately rolls onto his back, and I thought that it was just him being submissive and asking for belly rubs.
Oh, I could tell that he was pained. For once, I was actually able to pass the intention of the animators on this part. Up on the surface, Sonic is standing on some kind of rickety-ass stone bridge.
Yeah, it looks meticulously carved to be as inconvenient as possible.
Yeah, and I don't know why he's even standing on it. And then Knuckles smashes it.
Twirls his arms at it.
Sonic just kind of watches. And we get both of his Sonic Underground catchphrases in a row. The first one is Bummer May Horace, which he says all the time in this show.
I'm sorry, can you slow that down for me?
Bummer May Horace.
What?
Yes, I believe it is Spanish for Major Bummer.
Okay.
So like Bummer Me Horace.
Why is he speaking Spanish in a post-apocalyptic robot world?
I don't know if this one's post-apocalyptic. That was the Saturday morning one. I don't know what this one is.
No.
I mean, I kind of assume it's the same because they used the same backgrounds.
Right. It's so gloomy and dismal. I keep expecting Antoine to show up.
I know. But yeah, Sonic runs across the collapsing bridge and says his other catchphrase.
Spin and win time!
Spin and win time.
Those are the two things that he says in almost every episode, I feel like.
A real missed opportunity that they never made Sonic gambling machines. Sonic slots.
Yeah, they probably did.
Spin and win time, baby.
But this is where the episode really gives me some gold. So Sonic, he falls, and then there's a bright flash of light, and suddenly he's burrowing through the ground. He pops up about 20 feet away from Knuckles out of the ground, somehow causing Knuckles to topple on the edge of the cliff.
Knuckles, who was nowhere near the edge of the cliff.
And this moment became a meme a couple years back on the internet when people discovered it.
Good, but why?
Oh, just because of how wild and awful the animation is.
It's so bad. There's so much staring into the middle distance. There's so much reaching where you shouldn't be reaching.
Right, so here's a rundown for anyone who hasn't seen this meme or who doesn't realize what meme we're talking about and will realize when I describe it. Here's how it plays out. Knuckles is toppling on the edge of the cliff. Sonic walks up and asks him if he needs a hand and then gives him a slow clap as a joke.
Mm-hmm.
Knuckles falls off the cliff and then, defying all laws of physics and perspective, Sonic kind of casually reaches out and just kind of plucks him from the air like Willy Wonka taking the Wonka bar from the TV screen. Right? That's exactly what happened.
That's exactly what it is.
And then in the next shot, they're standing together, but Knuckles is clearly standing quite far away from Sonic because he's quite small. He's in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sonic further demonstrates his reality-bending powers by just casually putting his arm around this distant Knuckles, showing us that the distant Knuckles is actually tiny.
It's Sonic.exe. He's breaking the world.
My favorite thing is that when Sonic puts his arm around Knuckles like that and pulls him a little bit closer, Knuckles looks as terrified as he should be by this reality-breaking moment.
He has encountered a god.
It's so good.
It's pretty good.
Meanwhile, Sonia and Manic are giving first aid to Chomps, who coughs up the projector and it gets destroyed. This is another one where I'm like, I don't know why they destroyed the projector. The same thing happened in that Saturday morning show. Remember when that computer got destroyed and I wasn't sure why?
Yes, like, what? I had the same thought. I was like, why did they destroy it? She identifies it based on the rubble, but like, just have it come out in one piece.
Yeah.
Have it come out and then project again so you can be sure that that's what it is.
Yeah, and then you've got your evidence to show Knuckles, although Knuckles is convinced anyway, because you don't argue with someone who can do the things that Sonic just did.
You don't want to push your luck. You might wind up in the back rooms.
But Chomps can do it too, because he licks Manic nonsensically from like 10 feet away.
Yeah, like they're trying to make us believe that Manic is right next to him, but Chomps is clearly in the foreground.
And Chomps is like knee height to him if they're actually right next to each other like that. And then Manic tells Chomps to communicate with them by using certain numbers of snaps to mean yes and no.
And then he just says yes and no!
Yeah! He just communicates with nuh-uh and uh-huh. And I'm gonna play for you the part where he demonstrates what he's gonna do to communicate. And I want you to know I didn't edit this at all.
1 snap means yes, 2 snaps means no. Got it?
It like plays them both. They're clearly clips that were recorded separately, but it plays them both right after each other, so it sounds really weird. It sounds like someone chopped them out and put them next to each other. So anyway, Chomps tells them about Sleet and Dingo. At first they suspect it's Robotnik himself, but Chomps says no to that, and then they ask about Sleet and Dingo, and he's like, yeah, that's the ones.
Using full English sentences.
Almost. He might as well.
I know.
Sleet and Dingo have the Chaos Emerald. Knuckles and Sonic are on a date.
If only my fanfic would come true.
The way they're just reclining by the pool, conveniently reclining by the pool at that moment so that the pool can show Knuckles, Sleet and Dingo stealing the emerald.
Right. The magic hologram pool.
This is another thing, though, because Knuckles has already realized that Sleet and Dingo were after the emerald, based on what Sonic said. And then immediately after the pool shows it, the island starts falling. So they didn't need to have the pool show him, because he realized it talking to Sonic, and then the island started falling, which was the confirmation he needed.
No, I needed to see it with my own 2 eyes. I can't put all these pieces together. It's too intricate.
And we've now passed every use of the pool in this episode, so it was really pointless.
Yeah.
It didn't need to be there.
And we'll probably never see it again. It's useless tech.
Tech.
I mean, what else is it?
Yeah, I know.
You can't call that a miracle because it doesn't do anything.
It's just a casual miracle.
It's just a wonder of the world.
Yeah. Like Jesus turning water into hand soap.
I thought you were going to say Hanson.
Yeah, where do you think they came from?
The blessed bosom of Jesus himself.
I'll show you blessed bosoms.
Don't! We're recording a podcast. Put those things away.
I love so Sonia and Manic are down in the cave confronting Sleet and Dingo, but all they actually do is blast a hole for them to escape. Sonia's been so trigger happy.
Yeah, really. Someone needs to take that thing away from her.
It's only worked out for her once. This is the 3rd time she has indiscriminately blasted at something. And the 2nd time it hasn't worked out in her favor.
I just love how deep into the mountain this cave is supposed to be, and then she just blasts a hole through a thin wall of rock and they run out.
Yeah. Conveniently leading directly to their escape vehicle.
Right, their escape vehicle, which, by the way, has been stock full of robots that they just haven't done anything with.
Yeah, there's more robots than should reasonably fit in that thing.
They have an army of SWAT bots, and they just haven't thought to use them until now.
Yes, that's what I have, because as they're running, Dingo gets distracted by Sonia, because he has a crush on her, in case you didn't know.
I didn't.
And he drops the emerald. So rather than going back for it, Sleet and Dingo just get in their ship and fly away and send out an army of SWAT bots after it. And my first thought was, why not just send them in the first place?
Right. I guess it's because they were trying to be sneaky about this, but like, I feel like if you're an evil guy with your evil cronies sending them on an evil mission, you don't really care about being stealthy. You just send someone to go blasting.
Yeah, that's what I'd do.
Yeah.
And this is where the song happens. I kind of forgot that every episode of this show had to have a song in it until it started.
Yeah, me too.
Let's listen to the song, shall we?
No.
Too bad.
People don't always say what they mean, and things are not always what they seem. You better know before you make a scene that things are not always what they seem. Friend or foe, how do you know? Let their actions speak. Better or worse, trust them first. Soon enough you'll see. People don't always say what they mean, and things are not always what they seem. You better know before you make a scene that things are not always what they seem. Rumors come and rumors go until you get some proof. Don't believe what you hear, try to find the truth. People don't always say what they mean, and things are not always what they seem. You better know before you make a scene that things are not always what they seem.
To be fair, not the worst one.
Really? I thought it was supremely awful.
I didn't hate it like I hated the first one.
I don't remember the first one. What was the first one?
I don't know, but I remembered hating it.
Oh, well, I hated this one. In fairness, I do not hate every song in this show. There's one in particular that I really like, but only one. I don't remember every song in this show, though. There's like 40 episodes.
That's too many songs.
Yeah.
What was the reason behind that again? Like they get royalties every time the music plays?
Yes, what they learned was because with Deke's earlier shows, they used a lot of licensed music in Captain N and the Mario Super Show. Every episode would have a licensed song in it. But then what they learned was every time the episode re-airs, they have to pay royalties to the rights holder of the song again. And the lesson they learned for that is, if they put an original song in every episode, then they can charge royalties every time the episode airs. So that's what they did.
I mean, I get it.
But yeah, like you were saying earlier, every time the chorus is going, every drum beat is accompanied by a black screen with a green image of a drum on it.
And it only lasts for a split second, so it's really just flashing at you.
It's like allegedly a drum. It looks as much like an alarm clock as it does a drum.
True. But it really feels like watching the Porygon episode.
Yeah, it's very sudden. It's not. It doesn't add anything. It's just a strange choice.
Like, we can hear the drums.
I was so distracted by that I really didn't take in the fight that was happening.
I mean, it's a fight. Nothing.
I mean, yeah. We can assume that Sonic somehow has the Chaos Emerald at the end of the fight. Like, who cares how it happened? It doesn't matter. If it mattered, they wouldn't have played a song over it.
Right. It's just a bad montage.
Yeah. So Sonic gives the Chaos Emerald to Knuckles, who rushes to dig down into the earth to put it back where it goes.
But it doesn't go in the earth. It's right there. Just walk through the hole.
It goes in the cave. Meanwhile, in the flying scorpion ship that Sleet and Dingo escaped in, Robotnik is demanding answers. So Sleet just kind of tosses the communicator out the window. I feel like that's the kind of thing that would get him killed.
Yeah?
I hate these guys.
They're not good.
No, of all... Like, Sonic has had a lot of companion double acts. And I feel like we talked about this last time we talked about this show. Sleet and Dingo are the worst ones.
Yeah.
By far. Scratch and Grounder will always be the number one to me. Orbot and Cubot are a close second. Deco and Boko are alright. They're a little bit boring, but boring is the worst that they are. These guys are like offensively dull.
They don't really do anything. They're not funny.
They're not funny, they're not menacing, they're not interesting.
No.
The most interesting thing about these two is the question of what the hell Dingo is and why he can shapeshift. Right,
why is he a boat?
And it's not a question that's ever answered. to my knowledge. I don't think there's any backstory to this guy.
What a thing to never even talk about, to never even hint at.
It's not like it's a normal thing.
Right.
I'm looking it up.
What is Dingo?
Maybe there is an episode that explains it, and I just haven't ever seen that episode. No, I'm not seeing any. I'm not seeing anything that would explain this.
Why? Because nobody else in the universe does it.
No. So, back on the floating island, Knuckles is serving Sonic a slab of unidentified meat.
Yeah. It looks like an organ from an alien species.
Yeah, it also doesn't look cooked. It's still pink.
Yeah.
I don't blame Sonic for deciding not to eat that. Knuckles wasn't eating any.
It's an echidna delicacy. How could you?
We feed it to our enemies.
That stops them from coming after our emeralds.
I love that they finally explain to Knuckles why they're there. They're like, oh yeah, we came looking for our mom, Queen Alina. And it turns out Knuckles just knows her.
Didn't they mention something when they first encountered him? Because he thought that they were thieves, and they're like, we're not thieves, we're here looking for our mother. And then he immediately twirled his hands at him.
Yeah, I think you're right. I remember him saying, I don't know if they said they were looking for their mother. I remember Sonic saying, we're not thieves, and then Manic being kind of professionally offended at Sonic saying he's not a thief. Because in case you don't know, Manic is a thief. That's his whole thing.
Yeah, we saw him thieving in the first episode.
We did. He stole all those ketchup packets.
You can just get those for free, Manic.
Yeah.
Go to a Taco Bell.
That's the thing. That's why I was saying that first episode we watched was a better introduction to the characters because it straight up has those things where it's like, look, Manic is a thief. Just so you know. Because it doesn't come up at all in this episode, except for that one part where Manic is offended at being called a non-thief. But I guess that's because Manic doesn't really do anything in this episode.
Yeah, he's a background character in this one.
If they wanted to use Manic, the way to do it would have been during that confrontation that he and Sonya had with Sleet and Dingo. Sleet and Dingo get away, and then Manic is like, well, I got the Chaos Emerald from them, so...
Right. Pickpocket
Oh, that would have been great!
Then we wouldn't have had to watch that stupid fight! And then we would have had all of that extra time to explain some of the things that happened, but then they couldn't have gotten their royalties.
Yeah, that's true. Well, they could have sung a song about how good Manic is at pickpocketing.
Manic, you're a thief now. You're so good at stealing.
So yeah, Knuckles knows Queen Alina. She was apparently on the floating island when he was a kid. And he takes the hedgehog to see this carving that she made. And it's just a little short passage of text in which she signs Knuckles up to be a member of her children's army.
Right. Knuckles, who was a kid at the time, like all of them were.
Yeah. I mean, I guess this is the point, she's already abandoned the kids and then she's run away to Angel Island where she was hanging out, I guess, with Knuckles' dad or something. Just writing notes about, yeah, your son, he's going to fight a war with my kids. I'm going to write that down.
I'm not going to be present for this war. I'm on the run, you see. They're never going to find me again.
Yeah. I'll play the exact passage that she wrote right here.
In the final days of Robotnik's tyranny,
allies will unite with my children. First among them will be Knuckles, guardian of the Chaos Emerald.
Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird thing to write about a small child?
It's weird.
But the episode ends with all four of them putting their hands in. We don't see them break, but...
But they're friends now.
They're friends now. The end.
Hooray.
What a weird episode.
It was not great.
The whole episode is really stilted. It's really poorly edited. The animation is so full of, perspective errors and...
Oh, yeah.
Strange action sequences. Where clearly the characters are supposed to be, running at each other at a decent speed, but they're just doing a slow...
Power walk.
Run instead. Yeah, power walk. That's exactly what it is. It's Sonic the Hedgehog, and he's just, power walking at his enemies.
Right. He was not very fast in this episode, except when he randomly flew and then burst through the ground.
It's so disappointing that this is the Sonic versus Knuckles episode, because, like, generally, when Sonic and Knuckles fight, that's, like, some of the most exciting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The Sonic X episode, I think it's like the 5th episode of Sonic X or something. It's called Sonic versus Knuckles. And the entire episode is just dedicated to a fight between Sonic and Knuckles. And it's one of my favorite episodes of the whole show because it's really fun. It's really exciting. Like, it's just great to see both these characters just really going at it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll watch that eventually. I know we haven't even looked at Sonic X once yet, but eventually we'll do Sonic versus Knuckles because it's such a stark contrast to this.
Does Knuckles actually punch with his fists?
He punches like a whole forest down trying to get to Sonic. It's really great. There's a part where Sonic... I'm trying to remember exactly what it is. Like, Sonic is running through this forest, dodging all the trees falling on him. And then he runs up this one tree, and then he looks out over the horizon and he's like, oh, what a great view. And meanwhile, down below, Knuckles just grabs the tree with both his hands and just tears it out of the ground and throws it with Sonic on there.
That's the Knuckles I know and love.
It's great. You love that episode. It's really good. Maybe we should watch it right now. No, we're going to play Monster Hunter.
Don't be stupid. You know what we're doing.
Yeah. All right. Well, sorry, Knuckles. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Knuckles.
Sorry that you got portrayed like this one time.
We know what you're really about.
Yeah. It's funny because I would say that Sonic Boom Knuckles is very untrue to the character of Knuckles, but you still recognize it as Knuckles in a way.
Right.
And it's still lovable. Whereas this Knuckles, I don't recognize as Knuckles, really.
It's just a red imposter.
Yeah, it's just something off about him. Also, how weird is it? How weird is it that this show has Knuckles and not Tails?
Very weird.
Yeah, right? Where's Tails?
I don't know. Like, my immediate thought is that they don't need him because he has siblings to fill the Tails role, but, like, why is Knuckles here?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're right. The whole point of Tails really is to fill the little brother role, and you've got Manic here for that.
Yeah.
It's just, where Tails is genius little brother, Manic is thief little brother.
Tails was split into Sonia and Manic.
Oh God, don't say that. You're right, but don't say it.
We just have to fuse them together and we'll get Tails back.
I love you, Tails. I love Tails.
I do love Tails.
They're all
I'll never
great.
not love Tails.
Every member of Team Sonic is so good. Well, I think we've beaten all the juice we can get out of this horse.
Yeah. It wasn't a very juicy horse.
No, but it is a very dead one.
Yes, it is. And may it stay that way.
Sorry, Sonic Underground fans. I'm sure you'll be mad at us again. As you were last time.
Maybe find a better Sonic show to like.
There's so many Sonic shows.
Yeah.
How can this be the one you love? It's this.
Please explain to us why this is the one you love. I'm genuinely curious.
I mean, you know why. It's because this is the one they grew up with. That's the only reason you could love this. It's nothing to do with this show. It's about the memories you have surrounding this show.
Yeah.
It's about remembering being in your mom's house and, your parents are fighting. The divorce isn't final yet, but...
You've got a bowl of cereal and a TV, so your life is okay.
Yeah, for 20 minutes on a Saturday morning, you don't have to think about your parents' divorce because Sonic is here.
All of your friends are here, and they miss you.
And you don't know why Dingo's shapeshifting, but you don't care.
No, you just wish that you could shapeshift.
You would be anywhere but here right now.
You would shapeshift into a plane and fly away to a place where your parents stop fighting.
Yeah, and that's why people like this show.
I get it.
Yeah. Anyway, I try really hard. I feel like I feel like we're very positive about shows in general, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like we go pretty soft on. We're not trying to do an angry video game nerd here.
No, we like to like things.
We always want to see the positive in things.
There just has to be some positive in it.
The best positive I have about this show is that it's so bad that it makes me laugh.
Yeah.
At how bad it is.
It did spawn a whole meme of Knuckles falling.
The thing with this show, I think, like, what I appreciate about things, even when they're bad, is when you can see the love put in, right?
Right.
Because Mel, you can back this up. I love a lot of things that are objectively awful.
Yeah, like Balan Wonderland.
I love Balan Wonder World, thank you very much.
Whatever, I am not a stan.
Yeah, because you can see where there's love put in. You can see where someone who worked on this really loved what they were doing. And it's not all the way there because they didn't have the budget or the time. But I appreciate the love that they put in. There is no love in this show.
It is a cold, dead show.
And we have that straight from the horse's mouth. Like,
Nobody
our first
cared.
episode, we had interviews with the head writer about how much he didn't like working on this show and hated everything about it, and it's not the show he wanted to be making. Because he wanted to be doing a third season of his previous show, the Saturday morning Sonic show, with Sally Acorn and Antoine and those idiots. I don't like that show either, but I can appreciate the love that was put into it.
Right.
There's no love in this one.
That's why nothing makes sense, and they don't care to explain why Dingo can shapeshift.
Yeah, because they didn't care.
No, there's no reason why he can shapeshift.
Like, most of the episodes of this show were written by people who were brought in on an afternoon to write an episode and then let go.
Right. Nobody knew what they were working on. There's no grand vision.
No.
That's why they never find their mother again.
Yeah, 40 episodes and they never even come close. And it's not exactly that it was cancelled, it's just that that's all that there was ever planned to be, because this was just a cash cow show.
Right. Just milking it for song royalties.
Yeah, exactly. Whew. Anyway, sorry about that, rant. That's what you're here for, though, right? If you've listened this far.
Hopefully. Hopefully you weren't waiting for an 11th hour twist where we say this is our favorite show.
This is how we've chosen to spend Knuckles' anniversary. Angry.
Dumping all over him.
You know what? He'd approve.
He would approve.
I feel like Knuckles would be angry about any show you showed him. He would just be like, what's this bright, colourful box, and why should I stare at it?
Give me one good reason not to punch it.
I could be sitting in front of a big emerald right now.
And staring at that.
And I'd be way happier because it's my emerald.
And no one's gonna take it, except Robotnik sometimes.
And sometimes Rouge. But that's it.
But she has big boobies. She's allowed.
She's absolutely not allowed. You've never really seen anything with Rouge in it, have you? Guess you don't really know her that well.
Nope.
I will get to her. I think you'd like Rouge. She's great.
I don't dislike Rouge.
She's in a couple of the shows we haven't looked at yet. She's Knuckles' rival / occasional love interest.
Ooh.
But mostly his rival. Well, I guess we're done. I can't think of anything else to say.
I don't think there's anything else to say about Sonic Underground.
No. They did make a vow their mother would be found.
They made a vow, but it never goes anywhere.
Like most vows.
It's like those wedding vows.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. If you're mad about how we feel about Sonic Underground, consider donating to our Patreon.
Are you gonna give the Patreon?
It's patreon.com/superbreakfastfriendsclub. If you donate, you can demand that we watch certain episodes. Is there a Sonic Underground episode that you think would change our minds? You can make us watch it.
You can hurt us as many times as you want for a certain amount of money.
I don't remember the exact details, but the Patreon page will clear it up, I'm sure.
It knows more than I do.
It sure does. I set it up and I forgot all about it.
The internet knows. It remembers for us.
You can also find moments that were cut from the episode there, and occasionally a bonus episode, like episodes of Mel's solo podcast, Is This Video Games?
Oh, we don't have to talk about that podcast.
It's a pretty good podcast. I liked it.
You're dumb and you have dumb taste. We just got through talking about that.
Thank you to our current patrons, Jamie Core and my mother.
The coolest people that we know.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. We appreciate you and everything you do.
Without you, we would be significantly more sad.
I would have significantly less of a good microphone. And we're inching ever closer to Mel getting a better microphone.
Whoa! I don't know what I would do with that much power.
Record a podcast better.
No, it'll just be better quality in audio, not in content.
We'll see.
Oh, I've unboxed this microphone. Suddenly I have so many witticisms and insights.
Goodbye, everyone. We'll see you next time on the Video Show Game podcast.
Happy birthday, Knuckles.
Bye! Saying something. Oh.
How unprofessional.
You say that every time, but it never stops happening.
But I never stop being unprofessional.
Hold on, let me mute it. That was Mom, by the way.
Hi, Mom. This is what your hard-earned dollars are going towards.